There is another thing that I want to show you. I want you to know how you can check these components in schematics. And remember, I told you these component IDs have got many IDs, but the ID that you have to look for in the schematics is the one that is written near this chip, like this one, which is called PU8501. So if you have a motherboard and you want to know which chip is this and you want to find it in schematics, you have to use this code. So you get this code, it's called PU8501. You head straight to your schematics, and on top of your schematics you have a search bar. In the search bar here you type PU8501. They'll bring you this same chip, and right here they are saying that this is a GPU power main function. You see this code on top here? This shows the main function of this chip. It's a GPU power, so which means this chip makes graphics card voltage. And if you go back to your motherboard, you see that this chip is next to the graphics card, very close, because this is a graphics card and this is the chip. So this is a graphics card power chip. If you look at the chip inside the schematics, you'd see that all the information as it is presented, on the motherboard, is the same way it is represented here. The difference here, these chips have got numbers, the pins. You see pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these numbers represent the pins on the chip, and these arrows represent the lines going off, going out and in of these pins. So these numbers go up to probably 41, and if you take a look at this chip on the schematics, you'd see that it has got 41. If you can take a look and count these pins, you'd see that this chip has got 41 pins. Let's take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 times 4, that is 40. Now what I want to let you know is that these chips the pins are counted in this direction. I don't know if this is clockwise or anti-clockwise, right? So you count going like this. So this is pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 10, 11, 20, 21, 30, 31, 40. Another thing that you have to look at is these white marks. These white marks indicate 5 pins. So this one stands for 5 pin, this stands for 10, this stands for 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So instead of counting each of them one by one, you can use those white marks. They will show you. Now in the schematics, these pins, they might not be in order as they look here, right? Because here you see the chip, pin 1 is connected here and going like this. But in the schematics, it might be different. Right now you see that pin 1 is at this side. And they are not actually made in order, most of them. Some of them can be mixed up, others can be different. But what you have to understand is, let's take a component. If you look at pin, let me see. So this is 10, 20, 30. So on pin, you see this arrow that comes on this resistor. It's labeled to be 2R2 and it's connected on pin 30, right? This by this rail. So if you go on pin 30 of your chip in the schematics, you'd find that pin 30 is connected to that resistor. So let's take a look at that. So pin 30 is connected here, and if you see here, there is a chip which is called PR8501 and is rated to be 2D2R31. Remember, this chip had a number which was 20 on top of it. Let's go back. You saw that it was called 2R2. Now in the schematics, it is called 2D2R31. So there is some similarities on this, and this one shows the rating of that resistor. The name of the resistor is called PR838507. However, because of the size on the motherboard, they didn't have to write that there. Let's get another chip. For example, let's take this one. This one is called PL5001. Right? You can see it. PL5001. And you can see it is connected to PU5002 and PU5003. So let's try to search for this coil in the schematics. PL5001. PL5001. It's already here. It's highlighted. So when you zoom in on this chip, you see the shape. Remember, it was connected to PU5002. So this is the chip or the MOSFET near this coil. So let's go back on the motherboard and take a look. If you take a look, you see that this PL501 is connected to PU502 and PU5003. So these two MOSFETs are the ones that are connected to this coil. And if you take a look here in the schematics, you see them exactly. And their labels are also included here. PU5002 and PU5003, they are all connected to PL5001. And here you can see that there is another chip which is called PU5001 connected to all of them through this line. Let's take a look at that chip on the motherboard. So if you take a look, probably now this chip should be at the back side. So let's go back. It was called PU5001. Let's go back on top and we take a look at the position so we can determine which part it is connected. So you see it is near the hole, the fan hole, so just across from the same angle from the battery connector. So let's go back. So probably it should be in this area here. So let's zoom in. Yeah, now you can see the chip here. So you can see this chip is called PU5001. So this small chip is the one that is controlling those two MOSFETs and coil. If you go back to the schematics, it is the one here. You can see it's called PU5001 and it has over 9 pins. So some of these components actually are very small than what you might expect in the schematics. You see it here. And now this is where I told you that reading the labels of the motherboard are better than the labels on top of the chip. Let me show you something here. You see this chip on top is called CGZ. Now if you go to your schematics and look for CGZ, you won't actually find it. If you take a look, this chip is actually called a different label. You see it's called NCP81253MN-TBG. The NZ whatever label that was written on top of it is nowhere to be seen, the CGZ. You see the difference? You see it has got CDZ, but in the schematics it is called NCP18. But the good thing, when you look at the label written on top, which is PU5001, you still see it in the schematics. So the labels that are written on the motherboard in white color are more stronger and more informative than the rest of the labels on top of the chip. I'm going to attach these pictures and these schematics in this video. If you don't have a motherboard with you, you can take a look through these documents and you'll be able to compare. It's very good to practice with these schematics, because through practice is the only way you can understand and be conversant with using them. But most importantly, if you have a motherboard with you physically, that's the greatest thing, because when you take a look at something physically at the same time the schematics, it will give you more and more information. So I'm going to end this video here. In the next video, we are going to take a look at the signs of different components in the schematics, because sometimes you might be just looking from the schematics and you might need to understand just by the signs, so you won't have to read the small letters. You can just see the symbol or the shape of the components in the schematics, and you are able to tell that that is a resistor, that is a fuse, that's a MOSFET, that is a transistor, just by this shape. So next we are going to take a look at all the different shapes of those components in the schematics. And another thing, you saw when we are trying to trace for this chip, the U501, it took us some time. We had to bend the motherboard, twist it around. So that work is done by the board viewer. And if you remember, in our previous video, we talked about board views. So if you have a board view, you just go to the board view, you type that number, and the board view should direct you at the part where that chip is on the motherboard. So you don't have to go on looking at the motherboard physically, like spend a lot of time. So I hope to see you in the next video.